This is Mike Leahy. Thanks for joining us today for our Pulse e-commerce webinar. And what we're trying to do is to just give you an overview of how our software works. This is my picture here. I'm on the shop floor at one of our customers. For those of you who are not familiar with us, we have been in business forever. And we have worked with the Macola software forever. We're located in Cincinnati. One of the things that we do that we take a lot of pride in is we develop software that makes your Macola software much, much easier to use. And we were a Macola reseller for 30 some odd years. And so that gave us a lot of opportunity to understand the product, see where the areas are that needed some enhancement, and then develop software for that. And one of those today is the Pulse e-commerce, being able to import customer orders and then being able to interface with EDI. So this is kind of an overview of what our software can do. It says at the top, what can the software do to your company? So the main thing is the goal is to eliminate tedious keying of customer orders, reducing errors, and then we can bring in orders from a variety of sources. And through the years, we developed this about 10 or 15 years ago. Through the years, as a new player comes into the market, I'll give you an example of Shopify. When they started coming on stream, we developed an interface for them. So the idea is that we can import customer orders directly from different websites. And that might be Shopify, that might be Amazon, it might be Walmart, it might be your e-commerce website. We can also bring in customer orders from any kind of EDI service. Might be SBS Commerce, True Commerce, IBM, anything that's out there. We can import and use that as a media to import orders. Something that's brand new and it's really exciting is we've been looking for somebody to partner with where we could import and read PDF files. So as you know, a PDF is not a file at all, and there's no data, there's no program that just reads it as a file. For example, the date might be in the upper left-hand corner. The date might be in the middle. It has to have the intelligence, artificial intelligence, to be able to take that file, decipher it, turn it into a computer file, which would have a header and then would have individual line items. So there's a company called Ancora. Interestingly, that is the correct spelling. It's not a capital A at the front. So we're trying to work with them to for people who are getting PDF files, and they may be coming in through an email, they may be coming in through the mail or email. And then of course we can also import text files. It's not unknown where somebody has extremely large. I was working with somebody the other day that had purchase orders that had 200 line items on it. Imagine if you had to key that in manually. So they got that from a text file. So then that's bringing the orders in. And then once you start using those orders, especially if it's EDI, you need to be able to send back an immediate acknowledgement. When the product is shipped, you need to be able to send an immediate advanced shipping notice. And then for most EDI, people who are using EDI, they're going to want the invoice to come back to them automatically through EDI. For people that have websites that have inventory levels or want to have UPS tracking numbers, we can push those back as well. So I'm setting the stage here that there's virtually anybody that is out there that we can bring in orders from and deal with those and then communicate back bits and pieces that they need. So this is a chart that I wanted to start with to explain what we're doing. On the left side, you can see these are the sources of orders that are coming in: e-commerce websites, Shopify, Amazon, etc. coming in through EDI, coming in through PDF files. Since we are in the dashboard business, we don't just shove data into Macola without allowing you to take a look at it. So you'll see that we have a dashboard that is receiving the data and then allowing you to look at the data and if there's an error, make a change or at least evaluate it. We also have what's called an unattended version, or what we call a lights out version, that will operate. It will poll Shopify or it'll poll EDI on a constant basis and then automatically push those into Macola. If there's an error, then it notifies you through an email. So basically what we're doing is we're replicating all of the validation rules of Macola when we bring the order in. So all the rules of validating this, it has to be a numeric, it has to be a text field, it has to be this, or maybe it goes after something in the customer file. So at this point now, that in the third section, the data is in Macola. And then as I explained earlier, if it's an EDI originated order, we can push back the ASN, the advanced shipping notice, push back the order acknowledgement and the invoice. So this is kind of the flow of how things work. And now what I'm going to do is show you how the software works. So I'm going to do this a few times, and I purposely included an error because I wanted to show you how the software treats things that aren't quite right. So let's do that again. We brought in 10 orders with 140 line items, and watch how fast this goes. So I'm trying to show you then that those 10 orders, it had to read each header, had to read each line. Here, let's go take a look at one of them. Okay, so this order had 14 line items on it. So it had to validate all the information up here. It had to validate all the products, the locations. It brought in the description, the quantity, and so on. So this is what happens is, assuming that we'll fix this error in a minute, then if everything looks okay, then in the upper right corner, you just hit this button that says push orders into Macola. So let's take a look at this order here. I purposely created an error in here. And if I hover over here, it says it's got a bad item number. So let's click on here and see what the deal is. Okay. So it's saying that this item number doesn't exist in our master file. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on this item number here, and it's going to allow me now to fix that. Let's move this over here. Can't move that. So I'm going to type that. Oh, so look what has happened here. The real part number was DATA-BUS, and the order came in BUSS. So all I do is I just click on here, that fixed this. It brought in the default location for, if I wanted to change the location, I could. Now when I press escape, the order is, I have to X, now the order is good. And now we push the whole thing in. So let's talk about this again. This is the manual version of this where I'm bringing orders in one at a time. I have to develop confidence in that the orders, my trading partners are sending orders in right. I'm gaining confidence that the software is handling everything correctly. It's validating everything, that there's no weird errors. So this is the way that you would start. Then as time goes by and you felt confident that you wanted to have this run in an unattended version, then what we would do is we would turn the lights out version, the unattended version. And let's talk about how the unattended version works. It is polling the source constantly, and it's going through the same validation. So let's make believe that it's going through the same validation. And And if everything is okay, then it will automatically push it into Macola. Um, if there's an error, let's make believe that we have 9 orders that are good. It will take those 9 orders, it will push them into Macola, and then it will send you an email and say, here's order 1000, just came in, you need to log in and fix it. So the point being that the good orders would continue. It's not going to, repeat that, it's not going to take this bad order and try to shove it into Macola. So you would come then the next morning or that afternoon, you would fire this up. These orders would not be there. This red one would. You'd hover over here and say, oh my gosh, they sent us an order with the wrong part number again. You would click here, click on here, find the right order. You know, I kind of cheated here because I already had that filtered, but you would just put in data and see, and then click on data bus. That's all that's needed. And then press the X button and you're in. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, Stacy, did you get your phone working?
I'm in here. Can you hear me?
I'm not hearing you, but
I don't understand.
well,
Bill,
I'm going to shift over
Bill,
to the questions here. We're still having some technical problems. I apologize.
So like I hear her.
So
I
I'm
was
going to
gonna
click
say,
on the questions
you can for me.
and I'm going to look at the chat as well.
Yeah.
Well, Stacy is still having some problems. So a question that came in, well, how do we, how do we price this out? How do we handle this? So this basically is sold on a perpetual license basis. We've talked about having this on a subscription basis, but right now, so what happens is you get you have to budget a certain amount of time depending on how many trading partners you have. You have to budget some time for the setup. Just to kind of give you a feel, if you're dealing with Shopify, we absolutely love Shopify. They have, we consider to be the best customer support. Their documentation is fantastic, and so on. Amazon is very, very good and very popular, but it's extremely complex and requires just a little bit more hand-holding at the beginning. This is a really hot product this year to try to streamline this ordering coming in. And now that with all the tariffs that are going on, it's going to be a distraction, and you're going to need software that you can just depend on. It's just going to work all day, and you don't have to worry about it or give it any attention. But anybody who's dealing with Shopify, this works extremely well. I should mention that for every order you bring in, you have to think about the payment side of that. So we have another product called Pulse Lockbox and customer payment software that's designed to import the payments. So if you're working with Shopify, we log into Shopify, we import all the payments. If it's Amazon, we import the payments. If it's Walmart, we import the payments. So it works very, very, very seamless. I should mention also that we've developed a proprietary mapping. So sometimes what you may have heard is if you're using EDI, that every time you have a new trading partner, you're going to have to pay for everything all over again. Not so with our software. We recycle if we have another customer that's used Amazon in a certain way, if you have another customer using eBay or Walmart or so on, we recycle those and we don't charge to start all over again.
So, Mike, is this an actual EDI connection? Would Leahy be the EDI provider, or do we still need like SPS Commerce or an LBMX or Clio?
Yes, very, very good question. Yes, you are going to have some kind of EDI connection. You mentioned SBS Commerce. They're sort of the leader. They are also known for being highly expensive, and
They're the most difficult.
yeah, every trade
Oh,
partner.
I'm very aware of the difficult that SPS Commerce brings.
But there's a lot of people that we work with. Scott Geiler is our developer, and he finds these, very, very basic, very inexpensive EDI providers. But yes, we are not the van here. We're relying on some kind of a van. And if somebody,
We have
go ahead.
people that we work with quite a bit, like the LBMX that you mentioned. We've done some mappings with them. A company called Logic Broker. We've done some mappings with them that are very easy. And then, of course, the API with Shopify works great, but we have several that we have worked with that we've developed mappings for. And once the mappings are already developed, it makes it easier to transport those to, different customers of ours.
Okay, very good. My other question then is pricing validation. Does your tool do any kind of pricing validation? And then while I'm talking, logic for multiple salespersons. We can have up to 3 different sales reps get commission credit.
So go ahead and answer that, Stacy, and I'll do as well.
Okay, so the answer there is yes to both of those things. If you're using Macola's pricing inside of Macola using pricing tables, we can set the SQL mapping to look at those pricing tables depending on which method you use. And then as far as the salespersons go, we can also map that. Now, the more complicated the mapping gets, it may take us, an hour or 2 longer to get it mapped and get you up and running. But yes, we can map to however if you can tell me how somebody sits in front of the computer and puts it into Macola, then we can make the e-commerce program do exactly what that human would have done putting that order into Macola.
But for example, JD, with our mapping, if you chose to allow the customer to set the pricing, then we would map that. That would be an inbound, and we would bring that in, or we would not map it to the incoming, and we would use Macola's pricing.
Yeah, we generally accept the customer's pricing if it's within about $2.
Okay.
Because there's various rounding errors.
So we could do the same thing. We could validate that what they sent was within $2 of. So within each of our mappings, then at the field level, we can execute a SQL script or execute a validation rule for each one.
So inside basically the mapping, the way the mapping is set up is that you will have a schema based on how the file comes in. And then there is a mapping done for both the header and the line. So on this screen, you can set where the file's coming from on the right-hand side so that a file gets done automatically, or you can set it if the user can pick that. And then inside here, you'll have the destination from the source file, and then the destination where we want it to go inside Macola. And then we map those to each other, and each one of these has the ability to either be mapped directly to a field or a static value. Like if everything always comes to location 100, you can map that to a static value, and then you can also map each one of these to a SQL query if we need to write a SQL query for something. Sometimes the pricing is a SQL query because we want to match it up against price code 3, and if 3 doesn't work, we want to match it to 1, and if that doesn't work, we want to do X. So then that becomes a longer SQL query. But the ability to map in here is taking each field inside the file and mapping it to what we want it to be.
So this is a list of all of the source fields. And you can see here it says, I'll click on here. It says we're going to use a static value. All orders coming in are going to go after they're going to be pulled from the CO location. And you can see here, if that was not going to be used, we could apply a SQL script, or we could map that to one of the fields that's available. So I'm going.
And then we also have the ability here down at the bottom to, if your file comes in with a CO, but that really should be, TP or something. We have the ability to build a table right here in this mapping that can convert data if we need to. So there's some complexity with how we can build the mapping to make it come in the way you want it to be in your Macola database.
But this is designed to be very, 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 very simple. JD, there's a down the street from you that chose our product because they wanted specifically for the non-EDI, non-IT people to develop the mappings, and now they have 25 mappings of their own. So this is the header mapping. What I'm going to do now is go to the
line mapping.
Line mapping.
You have to set up a map for each customer.
It depends on how the file comes in. So if the file is consistent over, so we have some companies that will go to, their trading partners, their customers, and, they might have 5 big customers, and that file is going to come from those customers. And as long as it's set up the same way, then you don't have to have a separate mapping for each one. It is a slick tool to help with order entry, and a little bit of pain at the beginning to set it up usually yields a lot of productivity in the end. We have some customers that use this with multiple trading partners, up to 15 or 20 trading partners, and might have complex mappings based on location, based on ship to locations or ship via locations, things of that nature. And it really has helped their order entry staff.
So thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.